Richard Carapaz finally gets his long-awaited Tour de France victory and pays tribute to Andrea Piccolo, who must have been crying at home with Valentina Gomez. Focusing Evenepoel sees weakness in our beloved Danish anchovy and attacks for the first time in La Grande Boucle to take a 10-second advantage on the red polka dot jersey. Pogi, the Slovenian alien, shows that all the time he wants to humiliate all his rivals, but yet he does not dare to chase the Garmin team for fear of reprisals from the doped hipster. That was stage 17 of the Tour de France. Subscribe to the channel for more content, and also to our Failed Sharks soccer channel if you want more content about doping and that nasty sport business. And now, let the show begin. Tadej Pogacar is starting to look relatively uncomfortable with the journalist's lax questions about his absolutely Martian performances in the Pyrenees. Specifically, he was asked about the possible use of carbon monoxide inhalation, a technique that, according to Escape Collective, has been used by Rabobank, or Sonia Duval and Sylvan Adams' Jewish Israel Premier Tech team. It's a technique that serves to dose carbon monoxide into the lungs, but could also be used to improve performance, improve maximum oxygen consumption, and also to alter the biological passport measurements or even cheat anti-doping controls. Pogi, in his new profile, is looking more Armstrong-esque than ever. He hesitated for a moment and then insisted to the journalist that he knows nothing about this legal technique, even though the medical director of Sonia Duval, Adriano Rotunno, confirmed to Escape Collective that the team does use this carbon monoxide inhalation for testing, and responded ironically by saying that this carbon monoxide is typical of the exhaust pipes of vehicles, something that we imagine his close friend, Carlos Sainz, Formula One driver for, Ferrari, as you well know, has told him all about. Now, it's not the first time that Pogi has spoken sarcastically to the press. We remember those statements of the Slovenian alien when he was talking about the Giro d'Italia, which he won with more than 10 minutes of difference, and it was a mere training outing. Or then there was his impressive performance when he argued that it was all about improvements in the tyres. That was the main key to the performance, and not the treatments of the already legendary Spanish physical trainer Javier Solá. In the same vein, Moonlight Matchin commented to the Spanish press that we should not compare the records of his disciple with those of dopers like Pantani or Armstrong, because they are totally different epochas. Epochas that he knows very well, since he was already in Mape at that time, in one of the dirtiest sewers of professional cycling. We are, struck by the fact that many journalists label us at Cycling Highlights as yellow, because we don't talk about whether Pogi or Jonas cheat on their wives with hostesses at the Grand Tours. Or should we talk about the tricks used behind the scenes by these athletes who can improve the performance to the level of dirty dopers whilst totally clean? If Lance doped to the gills and then lost all his titles, why should someone who humiliates his records be treated like a demigod? And more so when talking about a guy who brags about giving away sugar candy to mediocre riders in the most laughable way possible. We will never agree with incongruities. This is not yellow journalism, it's journalism. There, we just wanted to make that clear to you rednecks. Now today we had a very dangerous mid-mountain day, with high temperatures and, from the start we saw, as always when there's no flat terrain in this edition of the Tour, the riders were flying at a pace on the way to being the fastest Tour de France of all time, with all that means. Halfway through the race there was even a break where the main favourites for the general classification got inside. Riders such as the yellow jersey, the anchovy or focusing were among the escapees. It wasn't until the start of the scoring mountain passes that the peloton allowed the escapees to try to fight for the stage victory, and all kinds of riders elbowed their way into the group, from Rabobank gregarios like the Belgian Bot or Daddy Benoot to 6 different FDJ, or then strange riders like Calippo Soler, or the former doper Simon Yates, the mustachioed Kort Nielsen, or the old broken-tooth Geert, or the Olympic champion Richard Carapaz, or the always insulted Enric Mas. On the Col de Noyer, a first category climb, clearly a mountain, that was where the differences were finally established, and it was the former doper Simon Yates who launched a first attack that left the rest of the escapees with their mouths wide open. Until, from behind, an immeasurable Ecuadorian Richard Carapaz appeared, little by little cutting the differences down to the Brits, for he had a double motivation. The first was to shut the mouths of the leaders of the Ecuadorian Federation that didn't select him for the Olympic Games, and so denied him the chance to defend his title of Olympic road race champion. The second motivation was to pay homage to his friend Andrea Piccolo, arrested for possessing a few vials of growth hormone just before the start of the Tour de France. Oh, it was a beautiful duel, where Carapaz was gradually cutting the gap to Yates until he launched his classic attack with 13 kilometers to go, and he went for it. He went for a well-deserved stage win. Hooray for the team of the doped hipster. Richie had worked the hardest during the day today, and remember, he had threatened to win the stage. We also have to remember that certain elements had threatened Pogi that they would tell his secrets if he didn't give them a small piece of the victory pie, something that the Slovenian seemed to be playing along with by giving a Giro win to Jan Ullrich's nephew, and now, well, a Tour de France stage win to the South American Olympic champion. In the bunch, the hard-working Almeida was leaving a trail of corpses, like the Gregario of Gregarios, Mathieu Jorgensen. Oh, it was a brilliant ascent of this Col de Noyer, whittling down the group of favourites to just 10 riders. But the victory, that was already ahead up the road with more than 8 minutes of advantage for the escapees. Pogi, looking for the spectacle, looking for the show and the easy applause of the fans, and perhaps even adding a little humiliation to his rivals, attacked on the hardest slopes of this first category pass. And then, for the first time in this Tour de France, it was Focusing Evenepoel who responded better than our beloved Danish anchovy, who must now be paying, no doubt, for the lack of preparation after that awful fall in the Basque country. In just over 1 minute, Pogi was already more than 10 seconds ahead of the Belgian and 15 seconds ahead of the Dane, making it clear that his interest is to mentally destroy his rivals so that they never again dare to try to sit on his throne as king of world cycling. On the final ascent to Superdevoluy, it was Carapaz who was totally ahead of the former doper Yates and a combative but always insulted Enric Mas, but at least he is finishing the Tour with dignity. Meanwhile behind, the anchovy risked everything on the descent of the Col de Noyer and easily bridged to Focusing, thanks to his teammate Laporte. And then he crossed to the Alien, held back by Continuum sports rider George Zimmerman. Carapaz's lead was increasing like Valentina Gomez's movements every time she saw Andrea Piccolo pedalling on TV. And then, in an overwhelming way, he got his first victory in the Tour de France and entered the elite group of cyclists who have won in all 3 Grand Tours. A historic rider who has made a doped hipster and therefore all the lovers of cycling worldwide exceptionally happy. Bravo, Richie, bravo. Second came the former doper Yates, and third, the always insulted Enric Mas. But the news, the big news, that was behind. For the first time in this Tour de France, on an ideal hill for his characteristics, Focusing Evenepoel attacked, having the broken-toothed Hertz as a shuttle in the breakaway. And then the Slovenian alien, in what must be a pact that he's made with the Belgian while bullying the anchovy, well, he didn't want to follow the white jersey, and he left all the work to number 1, so that if he wanted, he could keep his second place in the GC with the help of the Belgian bot and Daddy Benoot. For one day, Evenepoel showed cojones and continued to shut the mouths of Lance Armstrong and Eddy Merckx. They must be climbing the walls to see this TUE rider demonstrating his quality on the bike. In the final kilometre, Focusing left behind his tombstone-toothed teammates, and at more than 40 kilometers per hour on uphill terrain, he crossed the finish line, cutting more than 1 minute off the gap to Carapaz, and on a pass of only 3 kilometers distance. And always wanted to humiliate someone, Pogi attacked Jonas in the final 250 metres, so they crossed the finish line 10 and 13 seconds respectively behind Focusing. There were no big differences, but at least there was some cycling. It's too bad that these riders get so angry when asked about their secrets, because we're sure that men like Carapaz would be more than happy to find out just a few of them. Oh well, check out the video on the screen. You know you'll love it.